Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the essays on the Gita. We are beginning a new chapter, Chapter 8, Sankhya and Yoga, as always with our beloved Ranga.
So, Sankhya and Yoga. So, next time I'll give you a chart for Sankhya, because there's a good deal of discussion here in this chapter. So, next time I'll give you the chart and we'll be able to follow what Srimad is saying. But today the chart is not necessary. We'll just see he's going to just give an overall picture. Sankhya is a philosophy which recognizes Purusha and Prakriti. The terms Purusha and Prakriti have come from the Sankhya philosophy. And Krishna Dvaipayana, he was the one who had commenced this, he is the one who originated the theory of the Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha corresponding to consciousness and Prakriti corresponding to Shakti or nature. You can speak of it in many ways. Spirit and matter. You can say Purusha, Prakriti. You can say consciousness and force. You can say it in so many ways. Or soul and nature. They are all basically the same equivalent words. It can be at the individual level. It can also be at the universal level. Both. The same thing applies. Because we have seen that universally, what is there in the universe is also there in the individual. So the terms are the same. Okay? When you say Purusha, it can be universal, it can also be individual. So Sankhya is the path of knowledge. They want to withdraw from Prakriti, which is the body, mind, life, and which is you are in ignorance in Prakriti. So you want to give up your identification with nature and realize your soul and separate yourself. So it's a path of knowledge. Okay, so and it is withdrawal from action. So you have to, if you engage in action, you are going to be identified with your body, mind, life. So you withdraw from action and go towards the immutability of the soul and the self.
In the Tantra.
In the Sankhya.
In Sankhya.
Yeah. In Tantra, it's the opposite.
That's
they don't
right.
give up at all.
Yeah, I had misunderstood, yes.
The Tantra, they go through, rather they don't go through Purusha at all.
Mm-hmm.
They go through Prakriti. Okay, so this is the Sankhya philosophy. And yoga, normally when you speak of yoga, it is a Raj Yoga. But here in context of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, when they speak of yoga, they mean the Karma Yoga. So it's the opposite. Karma Yoga means you accept the action in the physical world. You don't give up your body, mind, life. You act in the physical world. You don't run away from the action. And you try to dedicate all your actions to the Lord by sacrifice. And that's a Karma Yoga. So the two are different. One is avoiding action in the world, and the other is going through action in the world to go to a level of inaction in the soul. The action continues in the body, mind, life, but the soul, you realize the soul is immutable.
So the Tantra was a takeoff on Karma Yoga or not?
No, they were opposite systems.
Karma Yoga?
Pardon?
Karma Yoga and Tantra.
Yeah. Oh, Tantra. Tantra is a bit different. The Tantra takes up the challenge and they do everything that you are not supposed to do, which is supposed to give you attachment and ego and desire. But they do that without falling into the trap. In other words, they will eat meat, they will drink, they will have sex, but they will not be affected by it. It's a path of absolutely a heroic soul. Tantra is not for everybody. Tantra is for a soul who is almost divine. He must have a Daivi Prakriti. He must have a divine nature. Otherwise, you will fall flat. And Tantra has been misused and used as an excuse for all your desires.
Now, Mother sent many people down to this tantric yogi.
Yeah, but they were not practicing Tantra. All these people, a whole host of them, they went to this, he's a tantric, and but he was not. He was practicing, but he was not making the others from the ashram practice that.
So he just helped out as he could.
Yeah, because he had some capacities, no doubt, and Mother was sending them. What her intention was in sending them, we don't know.
Yes.
Okay, because when she asked Dayakar, you remember Dayakar? Dayakar was Dayakar Reddy. So when Mother told him, why don't you go to Neelakanta Shastri, Pandit, what was
No, not Kapali Shastri.
No, not Kapali
no.
Shastri. Kapali was very old. This is in the 50s.
He was in Trivandrum.
His name was
somewhere.
Neelakanta Shastri, I think. Neelakanta Shastri or something. So anyway, so the Dayakar replied to her that, Mother, I don't need anybody else. You are there, that's enough for me. So she was very pleased. He refused to go. But a host of others used to go.
I thought she sent Satprem even.
Satprem,
Yes.
Poddar, Navajat, and many others. John Mandin, and all these people. I think Devu also used to go to him, Devuda.
Oh.
Many people used to go. Probably she's testing them to see. I don't know what. But anyway.
Yeah.
And it didn't end very happily in the end. Okay. As usual, Satprem was full of praise for him in the beginning, and later on he turned against him. So Mother said that he has not changed at all. You have changed your opinion. He has not changed. He is what he is. So anyway, that's a different story altogether. So we don't need to go into that. So Sri Aurobindo himself considered himself to be a tantric. But he didn't go the whole way. You know, what the tantrics do, they say, we will drink, we will have alcohol. And not only that, they'll have it in the most repulsive way. They'll have it in a skull, human skull. That is to make themselves lose the sense of disgust. You must be absolutely calm and quiet. So to test themselves, they do that. Okay?
They're drinking blood.
They eat
Human flesh.
Yes, human flesh, to get rid of the disgust, sense of disgust. And they even indulge in sex. Okay? So, but they are not affected by it. The excitement and the pleasure that you get through that, okay, they will not be affected by that.
But wasn't that one called the Tantra of the left hand?
Yes, that's a left-hand path. But it's a very, very rare path and everybody can't do that. So, but Tantra has, as I said last time, they have certain principles which are common to the integral yoga. And the three principles that are common to them is, you don't run away from the world. But Sri Aurobindo does not recommend you to eat meat and human flesh, nor to smoke and drink. He doesn't do that. But it's not necessary to do that. You can be a tantric because you are worshipping the Divine Mother. So the three things common to them is worship of the Divine Mother. They do the same thing there. They worship Prakriti, Maya. And the other is, Ananda is the aim of life. Don't run away from Ananda. The others are afraid of Ananda because Ananda is there and you will get attached to it. And desire will come again for more and more. But the tantrics say no. The world is made for enjoyment. But enjoyment without ego, without attachment, without desire. Enjoy all this. The very first verse of the Isha Upanishad says that. Enjoy all this by giving up. attachment, ego, desire. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. By giving up all this attachment and all, enjoy. Not enjoy without giving up, but giving up and enjoy. Okay, so that's the path. So yoga is a karma yoga, and you are going through action and in the physical world. You are not rejecting the action in the physical world. The others reject action. But how much can you reject action? It's not a very logical system, because you have to eat, you have to sleep. All this is action. Even if you, Srimad says, even if you sit quiet in a chair, immobile, don't think that it is inaction. Your mind is going on, your emotions are there in the heart, that is action. So it's impossible in the world to remain inactive in that sense. The real inaction is the immutability of the self. The self is not engaged and identified with body, mind, life. So that is the immutability and inaction that the Gita suggests, and also spiritual life. So, with this background, we start reading. In the moment of his turning from his very first and summary answer to Arjuna's difficulties, and the very first words which strike the keynote of a spiritual solution, the teacher makes at once a distinction which is of the utmost importance for the understanding of the Gita, the distinction of Sankhya and Yoga. Such is the intelligent knowledge of things and will, declared to thee in the Sankhya. Hear now this in the Yoga, for if thou art in Yoga by this intelligence, O son of Pritha, thou shalt cast away the bondage of works. That is the literal translation of the words in which the Gita announces the distinction it intends to make. Okay? He has told him the Sankhya method, and he's saying, now, hear now this in the Yoga. So Sankhya, you have to go to the self by inaction. And now you have to do Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, because he has to tell Arjuna, keep fighting. So that's a question that he asks. You are asking me on the one hand not to have action, and then now you are telling me to do action. So what is this? You are confusing me. So he explains to him that inaction is not of the body, mind, life. The inaction is the consciousness in a stable condition of immutability in the self. That is the inaction, not inaction in the physical world. That's not possible. Even if you sit quiet, you are going to have thoughts, you are going to have, that's the action. So that he explains. Okay, so that is the literal translation of the words in which the Gita announces the distinction it intends to make. We read the next para. The Gita is in its foundation a Vedantic work. It is one of the three recognized authorities for the Vedantic teaching, and although not described as a revealed scripture, although, that is to say, it is largely intellectual, ratiocinative, philosophical in its method, founded indeed on the truth, but not the directly inspired word, which is the revelation of the truth through the higher faculties of the seer. It is yet so highly esteemed as to be ranked almost as a 13th Upanishad. But still, its Vedantic ideas are throughout and thoroughly colored by the ideas of the Sankhya and the Yoga way of thinking, and it derives from this coloring the peculiar synthetic character of its philosophy. It is, in fact, primarily a practical system of yoga. Although it is intellectual, it is a practical system of yoga that it teaches, and it brings in metaphysical ideas only as explanatory of its practical system. Nor does it merely declare Vedantic knowledge, but it founds knowledge and devotion upon works. Even as it uplifts works to knowledge, their culmination and informs them with devotion as their very heart and kernel of the spirit, of their spirit. Again, its yoga is founded upon the analytical philosophy of the Sankhya's, takes that as a starting point and always keeps it as a large element of its method and doctrine. But still, it proceeds far beyond it, negatives even some of its characteristic tendencies, and finds a means of reconciling the lower analytical knowledge of Sankhya with the higher synthetic and Vedantic truth. Oh, I remember we have read this, negatives. We discussed negatives.
Yes.
You remember? You asked about the
Yes.
word negatives.
Negatives, yes.
Using it as a verb.
Instead of negates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is what.
I'd like to ask why, or has it changed? Has the world changed to realize it as a revealed scripture, or is it still the same?
It is not considered as a revealed scripture.
Uh-huh.
The Upanishads are considered as a revealed scripture.
Okay.
But it is highly estimated because it's more practical, that's why. As Ramdev is explaining, it is in fact primarily a practical system of yoga. It goes so far as to tell you even how to sit for meditation. You sit on a seat which is comfortable and not hard surface, so that your attention, it doesn't have to go to what you're doing. Okay? Then sit on a seat which is neither too high nor too low. It goes so far as to say all this. Use kusha grass. In those days there was no Dunlop pillow. There used to be only grass, sacred grass. So you put that or a tiger skin, and then you sit on that and keep your spine absolutely erect. And then it goes so far. So it's very, very practical. Okay.
I'm sure you know that they made a silk cotton pillow for Sri Aurobindo.
No, I didn't follow.
They made a silk cotton pillow for Sri Aurobindo, just taking those little pieces of silk cotton.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But he was using it on his bed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Who told you that?
I studied the tree and I heard about it. I think Parichand.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what did they put in the pillow?
Silk cotton.
Silk cotton.
There's cotton seed in there.
Yeah,
They
I
have to
know.
take it out but the finest
It's
silk.
quite common in
Quite
India.
common, yes.
They use silk cotton very much for pillows and
Yes.
cushions.
But this was very early days. So.
Okay, so Gita is making a difference and synthesizing action and non-action. Both are possible. That's what he will. So that's what he will ask. Arjuna will ask, you are confusing me. How can I do both together? So he will tell you that you have to understand it in this way. Okay. So, what then are the Sankhya and Yoga of which the Gita speaks? They are certainly not the systems which have come down to us under these names as enunciated respectively in the Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna and the Yoga aphorisms of Patanjali. So, the Yoga aphorisms of Patanjali are normally, they consider it as the Yoga. Now they call it Raja Yoga. Okay? So, the Yoga in Gita is not the Raja Yoga. And the Sankhya philosophy is also not, because they don't accept some of the principles. Gita does not accept some of the principles.
So they don't accept
The Gita does not accept some of the principles
some of the principles.
of the Sankhya philosophy.
Okay.
The Sankhya philosophy says that Purusha and Prakriti are eternally separate. They are always together and they cooperate, but they are eternally separate. The Gita does not accept that. The Gita is Advaita, Vedanta philosophy. They are one at the highest level. Purusha and Prakriti. Okay?
So Sri Aurobindo also does not say.
Oh, absolutely. That's why he is a Vedantist.
Right.
Sri Aurobindo is a Vedantist. But he goes a little beyond the Upanishads and beyond the Gita also. That's right. And how does the Sankhya explain the creation, Purusha and Prakriti? Purusha is consciousness and Prakriti is force. So they explain that they have to be together always and then creation is possible. If only force is acting, it can create, but it will create haphazardly, without intelligence and without consciousness. Consciousness has got knowledge but doesn't have the force to create. So they have to combine. And the image given is like this. Purusha has got eyesight. He can see clearly, but he is lame. He has no power to walk or act. Prakriti has got very strong legs. It can walk, but it has no eyes. So, how is creation possible? The blind man carries the lame man on his shoulders. Now there is combination of sight and movement. So they can cross through the forest. So this is how Purusha and Prakriti are always together, and together only they create. When there is total separation, there is no creation. There is immutability. When the Purusha is realized, it is immutable.
Have there been periods like that on the earth?
Pardon?
Have there ever been periods like that on
No, because Prakriti is eternal.
Yes.
And Purusha is eternal. When you separate, there is no action in the Purusha. You attain to a nirvana consciousness. You attain to the self. Purusha is eternal and this also is eternal. But when they combine, there is creation. Okay, so what then are the Sankhya and Yoga of which the Gita speaks? They are certainly not these systems which have come down to us under their names as enunciated respectively in the Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna and the Yoga aphorisms of Patanjali. Okay. This Sankhya is not the system of the Karikas, at least as that is generally understood. The difference we will explain. Okay? For the Gita nowhere for a moment admits the multiplicity of Purushas as a primal truth of being, and it affirms emphatically what the traditional Sankhya strenuously denies: the one as self and Purusha, that one again as the Lord, Ishvara or Purushottama, and Ishvara as the cause of the universe. So, we'll explain. The traditional Sankhya is, to use our modern distinctions, atheistic. Okay? They don't believe in the personal aspect of the divine. The Sankhya of the Gita admits and subtly reconciles theistic, pantheistic, and monistic views of the universe. So, the Sankhya philosophy says that there are multiple Purushas. You are a Purusha, she is a Purusha, everybody else is a Purusha. Why? Why do they insist on that? Because if you have a spiritual realization, am I having it? No. So definitely there is a difference and there are multiple Purushas. But the Vedanta says it may seem to be different, but it's essentially the same. So that is a more important factor, that all the souls are actually one at the highest level. This is all appearance. So that's the difference between the two. And there is also another difference. The Sankhya says there is no personal God, atheistic. There is only a level of consciousness. Okay? Levels of consciousness are there. But the Gita says that no, the divine can be impersonal, he can also be personal, and he can have also power. You are saying that Purusha and Prakriti are separate in the Sankhya, but the Gita says that they will have at the highest level both combined, Purusha and Prakriti, and that's the Lord, the master of works.
So when the Sankhya says there is no personal God, so the divine cannot enter into man?
The yogi who is practicing Sankhya does not realize the personal aspect of the divine.
Ah, okay.
But the one who is practicing that can certainly have the experience. There are so many aspects of the divine, and the one who is following this path, they normally don't have the experience of the personal aspect of the divine. He is not a person. There is nobody to talk to. There is nobody to exchange or grant wishes, nothing. It's an impersonal state of consciousness. That's the Sankhya path. Okay? So, and the karma path is different. You experience the oneness with the divine. You have the same nature of the divine. You will get the same nature. Okay? Sadharmya mukti, you get. So that's what Sam is explaining, the differences between the three. So theistic, personal aspect of the divine. Pantheistic, the divine is there in the universe. And monistic, there is no difference between Purusha and Prakriti. This is the differences between Sankhya and Gita. Okay? Now, nor is this yoga, so he has dealt with the Sankhya philosophy and told you that the Sankhya, traditional Sankhya is not the Sankhya of the Gita. They are different. And now he is coming to the yoga. Nor is this yoga the yoga system of Patanjali, for it's a purely subjective method of Raj Yoga. For that is a purely subjective method of Raj Yoga, an internal discipline, limited, rigidly cut out, severely and scientifically graded, by which the mind is progressively stilled and taken up into samadhi so that it may gain the temporal and eternal results of the self-exceeding. The temporal in a great expansion of the soul's knowledge and powers, the eternal in the divine union. But the yoga of the Gita is a large, flexible and many-sided system with various elements which are all successively harmonized by a sort of natural and living assimilation. And of these elements, Raj Yoga is only one and not the most important and vital. This yoga does not adopt any strict and scientific gradation, the yoga of the Gita, but is a process of natural soul development. This is also integral yoga. It seeks, by the adoption of a few principles of subjective poise and action, to bring about a renovation of the soul and a sort of change, ascension, or new birth out of the lower nature into the divine. Accordingly, its idea of samadhi is quite different from the ordinary notion of the yogic trance. And while Patanjali gives to works only an initial importance for moral purification and religious concentration, the Gita goes so far as to make works the distinctive characteristic of yoga. So, quite different. Action to Patanjali is only a preliminary. In the Gita, it's a permanent foundation. In the Raj Yoga, it is practically to be put aside. When the result has been attained, or at any rate ceases very soon to be a means for the yoga. For the Gita, it's a means of the highest ascent and continues even after the complete liberation of the soul. So, very interesting, the differences. In the yoga system, you don't need to work in the physical world after you have reached your realization. But in the Gita, you can continue to do that. Even after liberation, you continue to work in the physical world. And that also coincides fully with Sri Aurobindo's view. So, maybe we'll stress some of the points. I only read it, so I will give a. So we'll expand the idea. Okay. So I'm reading this paragraph again. Nor is this yoga the yoga system of Patanjali. So what is the yoga system of Patanjali? There are 8 steps and very, very scientific and very, very logical steps. You have to purify yourself. Human nature is impure. So you have to purify your nature. So how do you do that? First of all, there is a yama and niyama. Okay? So I just go through so that you have an idea of what this Raj Yoga is all about. So yama means controlling oneself. Yama. And niyama are the rules and regulations that you have to practice. So what do you have to do? Ahimsa. You have to practice non-violence. Non-violence physically, non-violence vitally, and non-violence mentally. Also, you shouldn't think ill of anybody. You shouldn't have any wrong vital vibrations against anybody. No violence at all. Okay, ahimsa. Asteyam, non-stealing. You shouldn't steal any other properties. Then, satya vachanam, speaking the truth. These are all the very, very moral ideas to purify your being. Okay. Then, brahmacharyam, sexual purity. When you are studying, you should not indulge in sex. And last, agrahyam. Agrahyam is non-grasping. Don't have desire. Don't have desires. These are the yamas. And then there are the niyamas, what you should do. So these are things you should not do. You should not have violence. You should not steal. You should not tell lies. You should not indulge in sex. Nor you should have desire for anything. There are the don't do's. Then there are the do's. Okay. So the first is shauchyam, cleanliness, physical cleanliness even. 2 baths in India, it's a tropical country. So 2 baths, one in the morning, one in the evening. Don't be dirty, even physically. Okay? Then swadhyaya, study of the scriptures. Whatever scriptures are available, study them. Then tapasya, discipline, concentration. Okay? Then Ishwar Pranidhana, worship of the divine. And then contentment, self-contentment. Be always happy condition. So these are the do's and the don'ts in the Raj Yoga. Patanjali's Raj Yoga. Once you have done this, now you are ready to start working on yourself. So purify the body, purify the vital, purify the mind. How do you purify the body? Asanas. Asanas will remove unsteadiness and unnecessary movements in the body. It will be able to be stable and contained, the power to contain yourself. You will see that there is a lot of restlessness in the body in many people. So this restlessness is removed by asanas. Then once you have been able to do that to your body, you come to the vital. How do you purify the vital? All physical methods. Pranayama, breathing exercises. And it's a well-known fact that if you breathe regularly, your vital gets purified. Okay? There are many. There are many types of pranayama. Pranayama is not only breathing. There are many ways to do it. Sometimes it's all sorts of things are there. Yeah, 1 nose, 2 noses, the breathing and it's a very, very scientific system. When you are breathing in, it is breathing in. Then there is a breathing out. And then there is a holding of the breath. What are the Kumbhaka, Rechaka, and the yeah. So there are all these very systematic. How long should you hold the breath? And then how long should you reject the breath? So there are all proportions. The breathing out is more important than the breathing in. even for asthma, that's what they recommend. Because when you are breathing out, you are not breathing out everything. The alveoles in the lungs, okay, there is a residual air which is there. So that has to be forced out. So these are the methods. So once you have done that, you purify the vital. Then you come to the mind. Before that, if you do, it's very dangerous. So you have to purify your morally, you have to purify your body, you have to purify your vital, then you come to the mind. And what do you do with the mind? There are 3 methods, okay? No, then there's another thing for the vital also. It's called pratyahara. Pratyahara. Keep away from the sense perceptions. Okay, this is a very interesting concept because your body needs food. Without food, the body will not survive. Your emotional being also needs inputs emotionally. We don't see that in that way. But you have to learn how not to feed your vital. So when the sense perceptions come, separate yourself from them. That's a pratyahara. Separate yourself. Don't let the senses, the data which the senses are collecting, don't let that influence you. That purifies the vital. Then you come to the dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Dharana is the capacity to hold a thought. Dhyana, there is movement in the mind, but the movement is along only one line. If you are thinking of love, then you are thinking only of love. Okay? The normal mind is not like that. The normal mind is, I'm trying to read this, but I'm wondering what my brother is doing and what I should be doing. What is my plan for tomorrow? What is there for dinner today? The thought goes on wandering left and right. That's a normal condition of man. So that has to be changed. So first the capacity to hold a thought, concentrate. Then the thinking along one line, that's meditation. Dhyana. And finally, you are able to make the mind absolutely still without thought. That is samadhi.
It's very clear.
Very clear and very, very systematic and fixed. Very, very fixed.
When I look back on my youth, it seems that the 10 Commandments were childish. Compared to this, oh my goodness.
So, this is but in the Gita, you don't have to be so rigid. You can do pranayama if you want, but in Siddhartha Yoga also, you don't have to do that. It's very flexible.
He did it. Sri Aurobindo did it.
He did pranayama for a fairly long time.
And he got great power. Yeah. Got great power.
That's because he didn't know what yoga was. He was brought up in the West. So when he came here, he was trying out all the systems, reading and studying and practicing all these things. So, but he says it's not essential. It's not essential to do that. So now the Gita he is saying, okay. So, but the yoga of the Gita is a large, flexible and many-sided system with various elements which are all successfully harmonized by sort of natural and living assimilation. And of these elements, Raj Yoga is only one and not the most important and vital. Okay? So, in fact, the yoga of the Gita is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. He insists on all the 3. But in the Raj Yoga, there is no bhakti, there is no devotion, nor any karma yoga. It's quite different. But the Gita's yoga is a combination of all. Jnana Yoga, knowledge, you have to silence your mind, and for that you have to sit in meditation and concentrate your mind. And then the Gita itself says that your mind will wander off. Then catch it again and bring it back. Catch it again and bring it back. You can concentrate on a small flame, or you can concentrate on an idea. Okay? There are so many ways of doing it. So finally, your mind will become absolutely silent. And it can be silent in two ways. It can be silent dwelling upon an image. Okay? For instance, I want to fix mother's photograph in my mind. My mind will move away. Bring it back to the image of the mother. So that is one type of samadhi. Now the image is fixed in my mind, no other thought. Okay? Then you remove even the image, complete blank in the mind. That's the highest state of the mind. No thought at all, no image, nothing. Samprajjata samadhi, asamprajjata samadhi. Two types of samadhis. So, it is very, very systematic and very, very scientific and very well researched. The whole, every path has been examined in India in the spiritual field. Very, very, very systematic. But there are so many different ways. No? So the Gita exactly, it doesn't follow. It accepts Raj Yoga only for that. Okay, it accepts the Sankhya for the Purusha Prakriti principle. It accepts the Sankhya mainly for the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. The differentiation between the mind plane, the vital plane, and the physical plane. So these ideas it accepts, but not the whole. So that's why it's a synthesis. Next time, Sravindra will start discussing the Sankhya in detail. So I will try and type this chart so that you get a clear idea of it. This much has to be said in order to avoid any confusion of thought that might be created by the use of familiar words in a connotation wider than the technical sense now familiar to us. Still, all that is essential in the Sankhya and Yoga systems, all in them that is large, Catholic, and universally true, is admitted by the Gita, even though it does not limit itself by them like the opposing schools. Okay? Its Sankhya is a Catholic and Vedantic Sankhya, such as we find it in its first principles and elements in the great Vedantic synthesis of the Upanishads and in the later developments of the Puranas. Its idea of yoga is that large idea of a principally subjective practice and inner change necessary for the finding of the self or the union with God, of which the Raj Yoga is only one special application. The Gita insists that Sankhya and Yoga are not two different, incompatible, and discordant systems, but one in their principle and aim. They differ only in their method and starting point. The Sankhya also is a yoga, but it proceeds by knowledge. It starts, that is to say, by intellectual discrimination, okay, and analysis of the principles of our being, and attains its aim through the vision and possession of the truth. So this intellectual discrimination and analysis of the principles, I will bring the chart next time. Okay? I hope to do it. Of our being, and attains its aim through the vision and possession of the truth. Yoga, on the other hand, proceeds by works. The other one, Sankhya, is proceeding by knowledge, through the mind. But yoga is proceeding in the Gita, okay, by works. It is, in its first principles, karma yoga. But it is evident from the whole teaching of the Gita and its later definitions that the word karma is used in a very wide sense, and that by yoga is meant selfless devotion of all the inner as well as the outer activities as a sacrifice to the Lord of all works, offered to the Eternal as master of all the soul's energies and austerities. Yoga is the practice of the truth of which knowledge gives the vision, and its practice has for its motor power a spirit of illumined devotion. devotion comes in, of calm or fervent consecration to that which knowledge sees to be the highest. So it combines both.
So by yoga, Sri Aurobindo is using what definition?
He is using, and that's why he has the word integral yoga.
I see. Okay.
So his yoga is integral yoga. He includes the Gita system, and he also adds the tantric idea of the worship of the Divine Mother. The worship of the Divine Mother is not there in the Gita. But in integral yoga, it is very much there.
Yes.
So he goes a step beyond all the other yogas. And his yoga is primarily psychological, not physical. The Raj Yoga method is quite a lot of physical things are there, na? Asanas, pranayama. But Sri Aurobindo yoga, purely psychological. Offering of oneself to the divine. Concentrating. Having love and devotion for the divine. Turning all your works towards the divine. So that's it. So he has told us a distinction between the yoga in the Karma Yoga as well as in the Gita. There is a distinction. And in the Sankhya philosophy also there is a distinction. So next time we'll stress the distinction very clearly so that we understand the differences in the Gita and the original philosophies. I think we stop here
Thank
today.
you, Ranga.